Joining me now is a man that's going to make his first lights out lightweight title defense come up here on September the 28th. So as we're talking just 2 weeks out from this fight, Abe, man, how's it going, man?
Hey, brother, great. How are you, man? Thank you for having me on.
Oh man, I'm doing good, man. You know, just get through the work day. You know, that midweek grind here is a Wednesday afternoon here, and of course, you know, we haven't had a chance to talk to it in a couple months, and of course, I was going back and watching your win to win the title there. You get the stoppage there in the second round. First round, utilizing your grappling abilities, but then the second round, you were throwing those hands, and ultimately it's a head kick that leads to the finish.
Yeah, 100%. I came out the first round, and I'm like, I could grapple all day. Especially he was a college wrestler, so I went out, and I'm like, you know what? I'll test my grappling. I'm a grappler. I got my hands locked a couple times, big slams, all that. Then at the end of the round, I opened up with a little bit of punches while he was standing up, and then I see him go like this, take deep breath in at the end of the round. I go back to the corner. My coach was like, "Why are we grappling? The plan was to strike." And I'm like, "Watch this! Like now it's gonna happen because like I took that breath out of him. Then I come out the second round, I just put it all together, and that was it."
I know my guy Pete likes to say this because we joke about a fight where we're together the night before, and he's telling me the game plan, and then he gets in there, and it was supposed to be a striking game plan, but he gets in there, ultimately comes a grappling game plan. He goes, I tied up with them, and I just realized I was stronger than him, and so I was just like, you know what? Let me just use my strength.
Oh, 100%. That's what happens. I came out, I landed a couple punches at the beginning of the first round, and then I saw him take it and keep walking like so good forward. And I'm like, this guy can take a punch. I gotta slow him down a little bit. So when I felt him, I'm like, I could do this for 5 rounds. Like I can grapple you for 5 rounds. And then at the end of the first round, it just opened up, and I come out the second round, I touch him, and it was so much different between the first round and the second round when I touched him. And I'm like, okay, now I can keep it on the feet. I can control it.
I know one of the big things for you is about staying active. You know, that fight was just a couple months ago. You took a grappling matchup over in Abu Dhabi, and now you got this one. I mean, is it simply, are you team no days off?
100% team no days off. It feels great, man. Like I got the title win, then to go back down there and Abu Dhabi Showdown Week, such a big event for the UFC, and the day before for me to grapple there, everybody that was cutting weight, everybody that was there for the UFC was at that event. It was like probably 5 minutes away from Etihad Arena. It felt amazing to go out there and showcase in front of these people on such a big stage.
Yeah, obviously you have that grappling base, but when you take those grappling matches, I mean, what are the type of challenges you like to put on yourself when you go in those matches in comparison to an MMA fight?
You know, my goal, like I said it to my coaches, I've said it to anybody. My grappling match is not as focused on as MMA. Yes, I'm going in there to maul you to get the win. That's my goal. But the goal is to help through MMA. Like that grappling match was to help for this fight, for the next fight, and that's why I grapple between my fights. Like I've done the IBJJF, I've done Nagas, all that stuff. All that is for MMA. I'm not focused on grappling. I just want it to help me out, like see the different styles. This guy that likes to play off his back, position, this and that. That's all it matters to me.
Obviously, we know, understand what your goal is in mixed martial arts and where you want to get to. Do you have any goals in terms of grappling competitions?
You know, whatever comes up through the way. Like I was not expecting to be on such a big show, like headlined by 𝐅𝐢𝐕 and Chad Mendez and all these guys. To be in the same sauna, fight week, all that, cutting weight with them, all that. I was looking around. I'm like, damn, I'm here. And then I walked out. Fight night. Before I walked out, my song was about to play. My coach tapped me on the shoulder. He's like, "Listen, it's a big stage. You earned this. Don't let it get to you." Because it was so big. Then I walk out. Even me, I'm so like composed, all that. I come out and I was looking at myself at the screen. So knowing now if I fight MMA on a big stage, all that, that's already gone. I got it out in a grappling match. So if I can do that, now I'm ready for anything.
Is part of that experience like the learning lessons of like, hey, you know what, when I get to where I want to go, I'm gonna have to get on an airplane and fly X amount of hours, and I'm gonna be in a big arena. I mean, do you kind of look at it and say, you know what, this is just the learning lessons of where you're going?
Oh, 100%. Even from here, since my first fight ever in Michigan, this fight number 12 coming up for me. When I weigh in fight week, all that, I stay in a hotel. I don't stay at home. All that stuff because my mentality is never to get used to home or anything. A hotel here is gonna be a hotel anywhere in the world. It's gonna be the same thing. So me getting used to being in a hotel here, fight week and all that, it helps me out so much because the second they called me, like when I went to Abu Dhabi, it was no different. It was just a different hotel and the same goal. I'm not used to home.
One of the things we talk about similarities in the fight game is your last MMA fight was against a fighter who was, you would label, a veteran of the sport, had a decent amount of pro fights, and now in this title defense against Konnor Kuppe, he has 16 pro fights. I mean, is this typically, are these the type of fighters you're looking for? You say, you know what, I'd rather fight that fighter that's got 10, 15, 20 type fights as opposed to fighting someone who maybe, say, is in that 4 to 8 range?
So I'll be very honest with this. We've been like asked about a lot of fighters that are upcoming, like 5-1, maybe 6-1, 6-2, all that stuff. Nobody wants to fight. Nobody wants to fight, especially here in my hometown. I'm defending the belt. Nobody that's upcoming wants to come here. The only fights we're getting offered that's so high is somebody that's 18-2 and 19-1 that's still not signed, and they just want that fight, and that's not what the right fight for us right now. But for me to fight these vets, they've been around, they've fought those guys, and they've fought the uppercomers. They've seen it all. Konnor made his debut in 2012, his amateur debut, and in 2014 he made his professional debut. I was not even in the States yet. For me right now, 3 years only been training, fighting, to go out there and put on the show that I'm gonna put on September 28th. I want people to walk away and be like, why is this kid not signed yet?
In terms of putting on that show, what you know, obviously I know you're not going to give away your game plan. Clearly I know that, but what would that definition be? Like, if you sit there and say, hey, I put on a show on September 28th, is it just going out there and being dominant?
100%. Being dominant in every position. Even if I get a unanimous decision, or I get a finish, or a submission, or a knockout, or any of that stuff. The thing is, my goal is I have 5 fights that night and to win every round of those fights. Each round is a fight for me. And every round I have to go back to that corner and win the fight. If I can finish it between the rounds, like in that round, then hats off for me. Basically I got the job done earlier.
And clearly, a successful title defense puts you in a great position to take that next step in your career. I mean, how far away do you think you are from potentially getting that big offer?
You know, we're not far. We've been getting offered. I've gotten offered to fight for the PFL $100,000 tournament before my last fight. I've declined that. My goal is the UFC, and that's all I'm thinking about. I've signed with the manager, 𝐼 Abdelaziz. We've been on such a great track. He's got a perfect game plan for me, where to go with my career. I'm 20. I just turned 23. First title defense coming up, and then hopefully by the end of the year, I could probably make my UFC Fight Pass debut, just to, put a stomp there, like just to show the UFC, like, hey, yeah, I fight for Lights Out on Spectator Sports. It's no difference for me to fight on a big promotion with UFC Fight Pass, all that stuff.
Is the mindset all different heading into this title fight as it was your last title fight?
Yes, there's a lot of different stuff. I mean, of course, my last title fight, he's a veteran, but there's difference between veterans. I'd say it again. Konnor's been in the game forever. I wonder how many Taekwondo matches he's had, all that stuff. He's a gym owner. So for me to be going up against someone like that, I'm very serious about this. Like, as serious as it gets. Like, I think about it, every camp I gotta be in better shape than the last one.
How do you push yourself to put yourself in better shape? Is it just more of just more reps in the gym? How do you push yourself?
I keep track of everything I do in fight camp. So I log it in, all that stuff, just to see where I'm at every fight camp, where all that stuff, like within, like to the point where we're tracking heart rate, how fast I can get down in 1 minute, all that stuff. And my coaches keep up with all that stuff, and they're the one that's pushing me to the limit every day.
I know fighters talk about that resting heart rate to get as low as they possibly can. Have you documented how low you get your resting heart rate to?
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty low. It depends on the workout we're doing. It depends if it's either conditioning or MMA, pads or grappling or sparring, all that stuff. Everything depends. But it feels amazing, especially to have a team like that cares that much, and then like that I could put my full trust into them. Our goal now is to get to the UFC, but the second we're signed with the UFC, our goal is to put UFC gold around our waist. That's it.
You know, every fighter has a different mindset of this. You know, sometimes I think you hear from fighters that it's like, hey, I'm taking the patient route to get to the UFC. I think of 𝗬𝗏, I think, is a prime example of this. He took his time to get where he's at, where there's other fighters that are definitely like, hey, I want the fast track to get there. Where do you kind of fit in that?
You know, if I really wanted the fast track, I really think I could have been this year on the Contender Series. Uh, so it was in the talks. We kind of turned it down a little bit because uh, it's not that I'm not ready for these guys. It's I'm going in the UFC to stay in the UFC. Yeah, I'm gonna get the right fight on the Contender Series, this and that. Get the contract, but my goal is to stay in the UFC, not do a contract and I'm out.
As you think about this matchup against Konnor, what would you say are your keys to victory?
You know, just dominate, like how I said, dominate every round. That's my goal. If something opens up, I would take it, dominate every round, uh, basically run the pace that I want to run, which is when I put a pace on somebody, I'm not going to stop for a whole 25 minutes. And, you know, God help these people when I go back to fighting 3 rounds after just being training for the 5 rounds for the past 8 to 9 months. God help them. It's going to be a problem.
Because of your grappling mindset, is there at all a thought process of like, hey, I want to showcase my striking to Mick and Sean to say, hey, yes, I do have this grappling mindset, and yeah, I can take anybody down when I want to, but hey, here's what I can do on the feet?
You know, it's not really like that. It's just to show. I always like basically if something, even if I'm striking, even if I just wobble you and then I have something to take, I'm gonna grab. I mean, perfect example when Volkanovski fought Yair, he rocked him so bad, then all he did was pick him up and finish him with the ground and pound. I mean, that was a clean takedown to finish with the ground and pound because he didn't want to keep him on the feet. You start seeing those haymakers, all that. The second I see an opening, I will take it because my goal is to win the round before to go to the finish. And then if the finish just keeps going, I'm still going to finish it.
As you think about where you want your career to go, you know, over the next 12 months, I mean, you know, if we're sitting here in September of 2025, where do you think you are at that point?
I'll be a UFC fighter.
6 months from now?
I'll be a UFC. 6 months from now, I'll be in the talks. There's going to be people saying, like how I said, why is this kid not signed yet? And then the UFC will start reaching out and be like, oh, it's time to sign this kid.
I think one of the things you said, and I've heard managers talk about this, it's about picking the right spots, not just taking the offer because the offer's there. You know, making sure you put yourself. Has that always been in your mindset of like, you know what? Yes, I want to be active, but it's also about like I have to make the best business decision.
You know, so after winning the title, I signed with the manager, and then I went down to Abu Dhabi. My manager was really happy that I was doing a grappling tournament, and I went up against the #1 brown belt in China, and I like basically I won a unanimous decision, all that stuff. My manager was really happy with that, all that stuff. For them to see that I'm there to put in the work, all that stuff. I'm willing to do anything. Yeah, I can go up against anybody in the world right now. If it depends, it takes one shot or this, or I can land a takedown, get a submission. It depends how fast it is. Uh, but the only thing that's in my mind is to take my time. I was calling for the Contender Series after my second professional fight or third professional fight every time I got on the mic. My goal now is the UFC. It's not the Contender Series anymore. If we do get the fight on the Contender Series, then perfect. That's all I need. But if not, then I'm just gonna keep grinding. My goal is to have a contract at the end of the day, either Contender Series, either now, either road to the UFC, any of that stuff. As long as my coaches are with me, I'm in.
As we're talking, we're 2 weeks out from this matchup. Are you kind of at that point of like, hey man, this is like the last hard 7-10 days of camp?
Yeah, 100%. It is the last couple, like basically last week, hard week of camp. Then all that, we'll start trimming it down a little bit into the weight cut, all that stuff. And a lot of people going to watch me here, they know this is probably my last local fight. Everybody knows it. I'm on billboards around the city, all that stuff. You know, it feels great. Even I walk in the gym, people know it's my last local fight, and I'm going to make it my last local fight.
When you see yourself on a billboard, like the first time you saw that, what went through your mind?
You know, uh, Billboard, it was like, okay, I earned it. I'm up here, this and this. It's not like I didn't earn it. But when I was in Abu Dhabi and seeing myself on a big screen just looking up, and Mark Grider was referee, like when I walked in the cage, I used to go straight to my corner, straight to business. I'm eyeing down my opponent, this and this. I ran up to Mark Grider and I was shaking his hand and I gave him a hug. Like, I could not believe I was there, like around all these people. It felt amazing, but the goal is the same goal, was to get the win, and that's what happened. Seeing myself on billboards, I don't let that get to me. It's the same goal. Either I'm on a billboard or not, I'm gonna get the win. That's all what matters to me.
Was the Abu Dhabi experience kind of a surreal moment for you?
I mean, yeah, 100%. Going down there after winning the title, and I thought like I'll have a little break before my title defense, this and this, and then I get a big call like that. It was amazing, and I'll do it again in a heartbeat. Like I get this title defense. I'm not looking past September 28th. Like people ask me, oh, let's do this September 29th, this Sunday, all that stuff. I'm like, I don't want to live Sunday morning. That's the mentality. I'm going in there Saturday night, and I'm going in there for 5 rounds of war.
Is that mentality you always had, or is that something as your athletic journey continued, you just realize like, yeah, we all want to look ahead of what the future is, but you're like, I can't do that. I have to maintain my focus on a task at hand.
I've had it like that since probably my second or third amateur fight. But for the past 3 fights, since fighting Jerome Featherstone, such a high level opponent, and then the last veteran, and then September 28th, I have that mentality now. It's like to the limit. Like I have to go in there and then push myself to the limit. All that stuff. That's my goal.
And of course, as you mentioned, Spectation Sports is where people can watch this. If you're not there in the Michigan area here defending your lightweight title, Abe, as always, I appreciate time. Of course, let me know they can follow you on social media, and if there's any sponsor that will help you out for this one.
I appreciate 𝐒𝐻𝗆. That's my main sponsor. Sonny's, P-Post, �Custard and then Family Rehab. They've all been taking care of me this whole camp. And then thank you to my gym, Detroit Jiu-Jitsu Academy. And then Abe the Killer Alsaghir on Instagram. Thank you, Jason, for everything. You always have a great talk with you. And it's an honor to talk with you, man.